welcome to week 11, and this is Sonnet to Science by Edgar Allan Poe. My name's Ava Bell, and yeah. Okay, so this is a quick overview of the sonnet. It's by Edgar Allan Poe. The picture is from Persil, and it was published in 1829, the poem, and the genre is romantic / gothic poetry. Gothic is a type of romantic form. And the summary is the poet composes a sonnet about his fears of the sterilization of wonder and mystery through the advancement of knowledge. Okay, so I'm going to go into Edgar Allan Poe's biography. This information is from the museum in Richmond, Virginia. Okay, so Edgar Allan Poe was born to two traveling actors, Eliza and David Poe, in Boston in 1809. His father left him and his two siblings and his mother left him, just abandoned them. It didn't say why. But 2 years later, his mother contracts tuberculosis and dies in 1811. So Poe was taken in by an elite upper class family from Richmond, the Allens, John and Frances Allen, but Poe was never officially adopted, which caused a lot of strife between Mr. John Allen and Edgar. And so at the age of 17, he became engaged to Elmira Royster and left for the University of Virginia. So Poe had some of his tuition paid, but he still needed a lot more money. His foster family wasn't going to pay with it because he had an ongoing feud, and he begins to gamble and loses all his money. And while at school, to make matters worse, Elmira becomes engaged to another man under her father's influence. And then at the age of 18, Poe, he publishes his first book, joins the army, and does very well in the army, and later joins West Point, but then again runs into financial ruin. I think more gambling. He was a very smart student, but just very poor financial choices. So Poe leaves West Point, joins the Southern Literary Messenger, and he invites his aunt and cousin to live with him in Richmond. And a year later, his cousin Virginia and him get married. Virginia was 13 and he was 27. Not ideal. So there's some drama with the Southern Literary Messenger, and he leaves it. He leaves it, and then he writes his most famous works, such as The Telltale Heart, The Gold Bug, and The Black Cat. So years later, Virginia contracts tuberculosis and dies at 24, leaving Poe devastated. So he was in Boston and then moved back to Richmond and rekindles a relationship with Elmira Royster Shelton, who was his first fiancée, who is now a wealthy widow. They become engaged to the dismay of Elmira Shelton's children. But in 1849, Poe dies under mysterious circumstances, perhaps related to his poor health and drinking habits. So throughout his life, he really struggled with alcohol. He was an alcoholic. It became so much worse after his Virginia died, and he never truly recovered. So cultural context, just really the Enlightenment. So really, there's no exact date of the Enlightenment. Some historians put it down, but others do not. The best way is just really from the 1700s to the 1800s. So it really focused on seeking reason and order, and left emotions out because emotions can lie to you, and that's what they believed. And so the movement involved a lot of science, politics, and art. And one of the most famous things from the Enlightenment is, of course, Voltaire and Locke. But here's one. Life, Liberty, and Property by writes John Locke. And then, of course, Thomas Jefferson adapted it into Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. So we are very much founded on Enlightenment ideals, America is. But Romanticism was in the late 18th century and lasted to the early 19th century. Rousseau was part of this movement, I believe. It was the counter movement of the Enlightenment, rather than focusing at times, the apathetic nature of reason. It pulled in emotion and feeling and the supernatural, trying to bring that back into this light, keeping mystery up, instead of just making everything monotonous and yucky. Pretty much, that's what they believed. And so the Gothic movement arose from Romanticism, which we learned in the video last week. Okay, so you may want to pause and read this. It's really just helpful for you understanding about what I'm going to discuss. So yes, so all right. So when Edgar Allan Poe says science, when I think of science, I just think of white coats, labs, and chemicals. But Poe's view of in this poem was the cold analytical pursuit of logic and reason, which is from the Enlightenment, but they wouldn't say it's cold, first of all. But Poe does not like science because it seems like it has destroyed, to him, imagination and mystery. It kind of, when I was reading this poem, I was thought of what is love? That's what it reminds me of, because it's like, the scientific approach is like, oh, it's just dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, but like the more philosophical approach, it's beyond that. It's deeper. So that's what I feel like he was kind of going into, but of course it was not about love. It's more about nature and the wonder of it. Diana was the Roman goddess of the moon and hunt. Her Greek counterpart is Artemis. Diana was also the goddess of childbirth, I believe. The hamadryad, a tree nymph, naiad, a water nymph. The tamarind tree is a tropical evergreen tree that's native to Africa. A lot of African stories from Africa evolve the tamarind tree, and it represents longevity, and yeah. And here's one of the themes I chose, the Enlightenment ideals versus Romanticism ideals. I already quickly went over it, but just a reminder. So Enlightenment, reason, analysis, observation, facts. Romanticism, emotion and imagination, and mystery and myth. So in this poem, I'm going to go back. You can see that science is displayed as the vulture, dragging the wonder and mystery and all these magical beings out of place, and not leaving room for any mystery or wonder or beauty. It seems like Poe is trying to say. And I guess this is like the tricky part of the poem. It's like the mid part. How should he, after he claims science as the vulture. So it goes, how should he love thee or deem thee wise? So how can I love you, science? Or because you've killed all the beauty in the world, it seems to Poe. And then how what's not leave him in his wandering, when you won't let me dream, that's Poe, or wander freely in my imagination, but rather just pour like a dull, dampening reality on everything. And to seek the treasure in the jeweled skies, to search for inspiration, beauty, and mystery in the sky. And then, albeit he soared with undaunted wing, even though the poet Poe once soared bravely and freely in his imagination, he no longer does. So he believes that science has taken away the poet's ability to dream and explore, and to find mystery in the things. So another theme is the loss of wonder in nature. So hast thou not dragged Diana from her car? So Diana, of course, the moon goddess, is sometimes depicted in a chariot pulling the moon. But now science, in Poe's eyes, has just made everything a cold clockwork, the solar system. And so the hamadryad from her wood. Again, the naiad and the hamadryad were pretty much spirits, and so the vulture has taken away all the beauty and wonder in the woods, nature, and has just reduced like everything to a cold, monotonous clockwork. I feel like that's the what Poe is trying to get out. And yes, okay. Oh, and here's some poetic form. So it's a sonnet. It has 14 lines and is usually written in iambic pentameter, or 5 amps per line, or 10 syllables per line. As you can see, I marked it. The green represents the second syllable in a word, the blue just a syllable, the first syllable, or one syllable. So you can just, I don't know, I just thought, I like visual things, I thought that would be helpful. Okay, so in the literary devices, so personification, he turned science into the daughter of old time, and then and then the metaphor, science is a vulture whose wings are dull realities. We can break down this one a bit more. Let me go to my notes. So we know the vulture is a scavenger bird, but it feeds off mostly dead things. But I wonder if he was saying that imagination was pretty much already dead. But I don't think that's it. So, Poe uses this image to describe science that feeds off beauty and mystery that once inspired artists, poets, and so the preying has destroyed imagination. And then the wings of dull realities, it's kind of, it's nothing, it's just cold, and there's just factual truth, and there's no a wonder in it. And so it's, even though like the science still soars high up in the sky, there's just no beauty in it. It's just lifeless in a way. So the imagery, it's pretty much a lot of Greek and Roman mythological, such as Diana the Hamadryad, also the, Naiad, but also Elfin, which is more European, Germanic in nature, and Welsh too. So he uses a lot of the mythical imagery to convey the mystery of it all, still. And he uses imagery very effectively. Okay, so here are my sources. By sources. Okay, so discussion question. Is this poem, Sonnet to Science, still relevant today? Do you think Poe's concern that science preys on the imagination still true? Or has it widened our imaginations? Why or why not? Consider the rise of science fiction across multiple medias. Does this challenge Poe's view? I'm curious to see your answers, and thank you for listening. Bye.